السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. The training team in Human Resource Department welcomes you in this session. Dr. Muhammad today will talk about the paper presentation and publication. So, Dr. Muhammad, if you hear me, you can start, please.
Yeah, thank you, Miss. Can I start now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to one and all. By the way of introduction, my name is Dr. Muhammad Ishaq, and I'm a lecturer at Department of Pharmacy, UTAS, Muscat. I have a total of 12 years of experience in academics and industry, and needless to say, in publication process too. As you know, I will be giving a presentation on paper presentation and publication today. I think both are of very vast subjects which cannot be dealt in one presentation. So to make a proper justice to the presentation, I have restricted my today's talk only on publication process. Inshallah, I will be happy if I could able to manage to give one more session on paper and oral presentation on some other day, inshallah. So more concisely, the op title for the today's presentation will be on how to write a scientific manuscript and get it published in the top journals. So this will be the current discussion or current talk of the today's presentation. Well, there is a formal disclaimer. All the information and views shared in this presentation belongs solely to me, not necessarily to my employer, organization, committee, or other group or individuals. This presentation is delivered with the whole and sole educational purpose of students and faculty members and is not involved in any sort of commercial benefits. Thus, the presenter or his employer neither claim for any copyright nor is responsible for any sort of copyright issues that arise herewith. Well, during the presentation, I will be briefly covering what is a scientific paper and the considerations you need to make before you write your paper, like how to choose and the tools to help you choose the right journal, type of manuscripts, how to structure and write your article, and the submission process. We will then move on to the after submission process, the review process, and I will explain how the peer review proceeds, what the reviewers are looking for, and how to respond for the reviewers' comments. Okay, we will also cover the publication ethics. And finally, I will share some important tips and tricks on promoting your research and getting your research noticed. So I will make these slides available for you, not a problem. So don't worry about taking extensive notes or something, noting down the points. Just make a note any queries or questions you have as we go along. You'll have the opportunity to ask the question at the end of the presentation or by my email. Before I start, I would like to thank the entire team of HR Training for their constant follow-up and help and support in making the time in scheduling for this presentation and in promoting this workshop for you all. Finally, I thank all of you for joining me today. Well, so we will start with what exactly a scientific manuscript or a journal paper or whatever you say. A scientific paper is a manuscript that represents an original work of scientific research or study. Most of the times, it can be an addition to the ongoing study in the field and can be groundbreaking or a comparative study between the different approaches. These papers are written in order to draw the attention of the scientific society or to show the scientific society that the research performed by an individual or a group of people. These papers play a very vital role in various fields such as physics, maths, engineering, medicine, pharmacy, whatnot, everywhere. So now the question arises here, why, what, and what not to publish? It is a necessary step embedded in the scientific research process. It is also necessary for graduation, promotions, getting grants, admissions in foreign universities. Like overall, it will highlight our CV. Then, what to publish? What we have to publish in the journals? New and original results are methods that were invented in your field. New and original results, genuine results. A review or a summary of a particular subject, manuscript that advances or adds a little bit extra knowledge which was already there, and understand in a certain scientific field, we can publish this one. More importantly, we should know what not to publish. Reports of no scientific interest. We should not go for publication at all. Outdated work, very old work, outdated work. Duplication of the previously published work already there. So you can't just make some phrasing outs or phrase outs and you can publish in another. You can't present the paper which is already published. No, you can't do that. Incorrect and unacceptable results or conclusions, these are not supposed to be published. First, you need to critically assess, are you ready for publish? If you are ready for publish, as a rule of thumb, you should only consider publishing your research if you have the information that advances the understanding in a specific research field. This could take the form of presenting new original results or methods, rationalizing or refining or reinterpreting the published results, reviewing or summarizing a particular subject or field. If these criteria are met, if you will need a strong manuscript to effectively present your contribution to the scientific community. If all these things are get ready, then absolutely you are ready for the publish. So what make a strong manuscript? Strong manuscript has three characteristics. First, their scientific message is clear, useful, and exciting. Exciting to whom? Exciting to the readers, exciting to the editors. Second, their message is presented and constructed in a logical manner. They enable the reader to arrive at some conclusion as the author, and the format chosen best to showcase the material. Third, they enable readers, reviewers, editors to easily grasp the significance of the research. So easily grasp what you want to say, what you want to communicate with them. So your paper, your manuscript is like a storytelling. You are going to speak with the help of your paper to the audience, to the researchers across the globe. So that how best you are going to put your ideas, how best you are going to put your story on a paper is that makes the strongest point in designing the manuscript. The more efforts you are going to put into the manuscript upfront, the more likely it is to be accepted, as editors, reviewers, and readers all want to review well-presented manuscripts, of course. Well, so your next decision is appropriate manuscript type. There are various types of manuscripts that suits the different purposes. For example, we have full-length articles. Full-length articles are the most common type of manuscripts. These are substantial, complete, and comprehensive piece of research that are of significance, that have got much weight. Depending upon your full-length article, the further research is going to be carried out by someone else across the globe. Letters or short communications are quick and easy communications of significance, and as well as original advances. These tend to be much more briefer than the full-length articles. This will not be any short communications will not be that much big lengthy as you see in the full-length article. They will be short, and as well as concisely the results are going to be presented. And one more type is review papers. Review papers summarizes recent developments on a specific topic, highlighting the important points that have been previously reported, introduced to the new information. These are often submitted after invitation by the editor, and are generally done only by the researcher who are having further progressed in their career and established as an authority in the field. It's not mandatory that only those people has to write the review papers. No, everyone can have can write the review paper, but the thing here is only those people who are having established in their field and authority in their field, they can get a better review, better ideas for the review paper. That's why editors of the journals generally they used to invite the people in such manner. In selecting an article type, you need to be self-evaluate your work by asking the questions as is my research message sufficient for a full-length article, or my results are so thrilling that they should be shown as soon as possible as in a form of a short communication. Maybe your supervisor or your colleague or your friend who are working in the same field are also a good source of advice on the manuscript type. So sometimes outsiders can see the situation more clearly than you. And of course, you can must reach a conscious decision with your co-authors too. It's worth nothing. There are also new concept nowadays. We are emerging with new types of manuscripts or new types of papers also, like micro articles are popping up, such as software article, method articles, data articles, which may be useful for presenting aspects of your work that may not be published in the detail in a traditional journals. So fine, anyhow, these are the three main articles: full-length articles, letters of short communications, and review papers. Now, it is critically important to select the right journal for two reasons. If your research is not published in an appropriate journal, it will not reach the intended audience, nor receive the downloads or citations it would have appeared in a better matching journal. If your paper is outside the scope of the journal, it will be more likely to get rejected immediately by the editors. Not even because of the quality of the work which you have presented on the paper, but because the topic doesn't fit into their model, that doesn't fit into the journal. And you have to go back again to the drawing board, again submit over, again time waste, all this. So furthermore, you may not hedge your bets by submitting your manuscript to more than one journal at a time. It is unethical. International ethical standards prohibits multiple or simultaneous submissions. And remember, editors do find out this one. So don't even dare to submit the journal more than one one manuscript for more than one journal at a time. So one tip I would like to share here is to consult the articles in your reference list and check which journal they are published in. This will usually lead directly to the right journal. And in fact, anyhow, your supervisors, your colleagues, your seniors will be there to give more information. They are maybe more familiar with the different journals that are relevant to your field. Remember, you must agree on where to submit with any other authors. Once you are having your shortlist, investigate all the candidate journals to find out which one is the best to suit them. Where can you find all this information? In fact, of course, you are investigate journals by visiting their homepage on the publisher's website, such as Elsevier.com or TaylorFrancis.com is there. So many publication houses are there. Oxford Press, Oxford University Press is another thing. So many Eurasian journals are there. But in addition, many publishers now have a tool to help the authors to find out the information, such as Elsevier Journal Finder tool, a Clarivate Web of Science match manuscript option. You can see on the top here, match manuscript option is there. So where you can upload the title and the abstract of your article and allow the tool to generate the suggested articles by subject using the tool's powerful matching algorithm. You can then interrogate the results and compare the impact factor, editorial speed, open access options. So many are there. So these will help you to what type of journal you can have to submit, what type of journal you can communicate with, depending upon your work, depending upon your manuscript title, etc., etc. Well, so I would advise that you apply the guides for authors for the manuscript, even to the first draft you write. So here in the guide for authors, they will give a detailed description about how to write a manuscript, what are all the subheadings it should consist of, and how to arrange the reference style, nomenclature, figures, tables. All the important items will be there inside the guide for authors. Or some other journals, they will give instructions to authors. We all know this one. So it is better to consult this once before you even write the first draft also. So what all needed is lots and lots of patience. As Rome was not built in a day, great things certainly take time. So have some patience and work on your paper regularly. It's not like you have started the paper today and you have worked for a couple of days and you have keep it aside for a few more days and then you have come back for one more time. No, don't do like this. Sit on the paper and make some time and do whatever, how much time you want to put on the paper. Then if you won't start, it will not be made. If you start today, it will be definitely built on one day. Is it not? So start making invest making the time so that you will get more chances to get a good manuscript. Well, with a short introduction, now we are going to moving into the nuts and bolts of the presentation, that is the structure and writing of your paper. So manuscript contain many sections, and each one has a different purpose. At the beginning of the manuscript, we are going to begin the manuscript with the title, abstract, and keywords. These are critically going to play a very, very important role in allowing the articles to be properly indexed in a easily found by the potential readers through search engines. As you probably know from your own experience, these days researchers don't go to the table of contents of the journals and search where exactly the paper of your interest has been published. No, we don't do like this. We just put one phrase, we just put some keyword in the Google or in the PubMed or in some search engine, and then we are going to search whether the article has been published on this relevant issue or not. That's it. We are not going to go to the table of contents of each and every journal. No, it's a foolishness. How many journals can we refer like this? No, these are not possible. These section, title, abstract, and keywords, these are the advertisements for your paper. So ensure they are informative, attractive, and effective to encourage potential readers to go through your full paper. Next, the main text of the article includes introduction, methods, material, we generally call it the materials and methods, and finally results and their discussion. This is where you must present your paper. You must convey your story. You must convey your point, idea to the reviewer, to the reader. One thing what you have to put in your mind is reader's time is not unlimited. So make sure that your article is concise as possible. And the last group of the section brings up the end of the manuscript. Then it will start with the conclusion, acknowledgements, references, and some supporting material if you need. This should give you a feel for a typical structure, but do not that some journals request in some other order. For instance, the discussion will be generally clubbed with the results, or the discussion will be clubbed with the conclusion part sometimes. So it depends upon the journal to journal. And some journals require an R&D section also, how the research has been done, what is the basic criteria, idea behind this event. Anyhow, this is the generalized format for most of the journals, most of the articles, journals. You should read the guides of author, instructions to the author first for the specific criteria of your target journal. Well, we are going to present one by one. Let us look in a detailed manner at each section and what it contains right from the starting of the title. So effective title have a number of characteristics. So your title should identify the main issue of the paper, should be concise, and should be accurate, unambiguous, specific, complete, because you want the appropriate audience to read your paper. If the title isn't accurate, that the right people may not find or read it, and the community would remain unaware of your work, leading to the low citations than the paper deserves. Should use professional language and avoid rarely used abbreviations. And your title will attract readers short, and you must put some catchy words, catchy titles. So which means the best title contains the fewer possible words and that adequately and accurately describes the content of the paper. Naturally, the title should be discussed and agreed with your co-authors too, in fact. Look at this one example, Action of Antibiotics on Bacteria. This is the original title. One reviewer has suggested inhibition of growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis by streptomycin. This is a revised article, the revised title. Now, specifically here it has given antibiotic on bacteria. Antibiotic is a very broad term. Bacteria is also a very broad term. Now, moving towards a more specificity, the reviewer has suggested one title, Inhibition of Growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis by streptomycin. Look at this one. They have specified the microorganism. They have specified the antibiotic which they are using in the research. So that much specificity should be there in your title so as to attract the readers. Well, if the title catches a reader's attention, the next thing a potential reader will look at is the abstract, which is always freely available in electronic abstracting indexing services such as Web of Science, PubMed, or Medline, Embase, Scopus, number of services are there where you can find the abstract free of cost. The abstract should be as brief as possible. A single paragraph is sufficient. The abstract should summarize the problem, the method, result, and conclusion. So consider your writing style as an abstract that is clearly written and easy to understand will strongly encourage the reader to go further to read your paper. Am I right? So if the abstract itself is too much clumsy, abstract itself is too much wordy, abstract itself is not conveying the message, then obviously you are not going to end up with the downloading the paper and reading the paper by the reader. The abstract is an advertisement for your article. If a customer has to buy your product, he will see your advertisement. Once the advertisement is what to say, advertise. Sorry.
आता हूँ 5 मिनट नहीं आज नहीं कल.
Sorry for the disturbance. So what I'm telling is abstract is forms as an advertisement for your paper. So once your advertisement is good, obviously the product sales will also be good. So generally, I personally follow the rule of 10. Here I used to put 1 or 2 sentences about the introduction and aim of the topic, and 2 to 3 sentences what are the methods and materials which I have used in this current research. 2 to 3 more lines will be on the discussion of results, projection of results, small something significant results, and 1 or 2 lines I will dedicate for the discussion and as well as conclusion. That ends the complete abstract. Hardly you will get 10 to 12 lines, and the words may end up from 200 to 50 to 300 words. Finish. The abstract is closed. So remember, the abstract title, abstract and keywords plays a very, very, very vital role in your paper. Next, keywords. Next come the keywords, which are the labels or taglines for your manuscript used by various indexing and abstracting services. The table of here, if you can look at this table, it contains some examples. The keywords will be specific. What exactly means by keywords? Keywords here means, so for example, if I want to search a paper on some topic, so what is the phrase, what is the word which I'm putting in the Google search bar to search? That is called as keyword. So it must be very, very specific, and it must be very, very related to your article. For example, if I talk about blade wake interaction in cross flow turbines, so the related keywords for this title will be cross flow turbine, vertical axis turbine, H rotor, fluid structure interaction, wake blade, etc., etc. All these are related to these title. So first, keyword should be specific enough to give someone a very quick idea about the content of the paper. So it should not be too much vast again, and it should not be all the words which has been kept in the title. So whatever the title you have kept, all the keywords should not be repeated in the keywords. So minimize as much as you possible. Of course, you can use a couple of words which are there in the title, but restrict. You should limit the repetition of the words already there in the title, because title itself acts as a keyword. So you can project your paper. You can have a chance to project your paper by adding more and more number of keywords. Generally, the article, the journal will allow you to make use of 6 keywords. So when you have an option of using 6 keywords so as to project your product in the market, why to go unnecessarily by repeating the same words which are there in the title? So use some good and new keywords which were related to your article, so that a reader or a researcher or a searcher like me or somebody else will be appearing your paper in front of the screen. Well, moving on to the main part of the article, the introduction, methods and results and discussion. First, we'll discuss about the introduction. The introduction is used to provide a brief context for your manuscript and convince the reader why your work advances a field of study. A good introduction should start with why. Explain what is a problem that you are trying to solve that will give a clear motivation to the student, to the researcher, or to the reader or reviewer. So start the introduction with the question called why. You can then move on to the topic called how, and give a high level of description of your approach. Why is it important? Why is it difficult? What is the novelty compared to the which is already available in the literature. Next, identify the existing solutions and limitations. Are they existing solutions are sufficient? Are they are having any drawbacks? If so, what is the best solution? What are its limitations? How does your proposed study or aim to progress on this? What makes you different or better? Everything will be concised in the introduction part. Well, so a couple of paragraphs is enough for the introduction, or generally one paragraph is also fine. So this session should not be like a history lesson. So you can't summarize whole field in just one or two paragraphs, and that doesn't mean that you should not you have to just project a little bit of your work. No, you need to justify what are all the important aspects so as to introduce the topic to the reader before he go into the details of your study. Cite a couple of reference, original and important works which is come across in your work, to give a reader a sense of how your work fits into the literature. However, take care not to make the citations of irrelevant references, including of your own sometimes. So most of the times it is very very attractive to use the words like novel, first time, first ever, paradigm change. No. These words, of course, these are highly tempting words, but still we are not supposed to use for number of times, because we are unaware of that. By mistakenly, we might have used a word called first time or first ever, and we are unaware that somebody might have published the paper else. So it is better to avoid these expressions. After the completion, after the introducing the topic to the reader, now we will move on to the materials and methods. The materials and methods, it is important to be detailed the extent that a knowledgeable reader would be able to reproduce the experiment. But the method is nothing but a procedure. What sort of procedure you have followed so as you have ended up with some experimental result. The same experiment the reader can be reproduced in his own laboratory. So the diagrammatic summarize, or if you embed any diagrams, videos, that may also helpful. Any previous published procedure should not be rewritten and in detail, but should be mentioned in the methods. So no need to give a detailed description, just give a summary and cite that reference in the reference section. That is more sufficient. The equipment and the materials used in the experiment should be identified along with their sources, where you get the materials from, and what are the different methods you have adopted, etc., etc. If the work is computational or theoretical, then the code or computational or analytical method should be described. Write out full chemicals, biological compounds, names, their abbreviations, then use the abbreviations throughout the paper. And so whenever you are going to use the abbreviation, make sure that whenever the abbreviation has fall for the first time in the article, given a full form and in a brackets abbreviated form, and then you can use the abbreviated form in the rest of the paper throughout. So present the proper controls of the experiment too. What are all the temperature or pressure you are maintaining, pH you are maintaining, etc., etc. So then the most important thing is results. The results section follows and contains an analytical description of the data with a minimal interpretation of the data. Present the results which are essential for the discussion. Not all the results are sufficient. Not all the results are necessary here. Look at this iceberg. The iceberg will be in the bottom. It is this much huge, but you are going to present only this much. Why? Because the space of the journal and the it's unnecessary to project all the unnecessary results or minor results. You can show the results of secondary importance in another subheading called supplementary material. No need to project all the results which are not essential for the discussion in the results section. First and foremost thing. And when you write your result section, you should include only data of primary importance. And be careful that don't hide the data for the so as to make another publication with the using another so as to get from another publication. Don't cut the results into two halves so that you can publish two papers. No, you may end up you may lose the evidence to support your contribution. You should consider the use of subheadings to keep the results of the same type together. This also helps in organizing your paper. So as you can then easily refer back the relevant section. So usage of figures and tables also makes a data more clear and easy to understand. As my personal experience, as far as my thing is concerned, I will first look at what are all the pictures, what are all the tables the paper consists of. I don't study the results. I don't go for the paper. I just first focus on the figures and pictures, because it will give what to say, a quick understanding, easy to understand. A story can be easy to understand if I look at the pictures, look at the tables, look at the data of the tables. So you should provide the statistical analysis to showcase the certainty of the results, whether it is significant or non-significant, etc. So I will show you the few tips here for the visualization and tables in the next coming slides. So some general guidelines to start. First, the caption and the legend of a figure should be brief and should contain sufficient explanatory details to explain the figure without need of refer the text. Readers often review the figures before they read the entire paper, as far as my case is concerned. So I first go for the directly looking at the pictures, what the paper consists of, the graphs, what the paper consists of, the table form, what the data has been depicted. Secondly, it can be tempting to go for crazy with the colors. In fact, you can publish the color papers, but color photographs, but here also it should be used sparingly and only when absolutely necessary. For instance, if you are going to use some histograms of different colors, yes, by using the bar diagrams or histograms of different colors, you can depict your result clearly and easy to understand model. But what if when you take a black and white printout, all will appear in a same color? Then our message is going to be wrongly conceived. So now some advice on the specific types of firstly graphs. These are often used to compare the experimental results with those of the previous works and or with the calculated theoretical values. Graphs should not be crowded with the many data sets. Try to present at most of 3 to 4 data sets max for a figure or for a graph. Use well scaled figures, scales, and broken axes if necessary. Label the axis clearly and use different symbols or lines, styles, so that one can quickly discriminate between data sets and even in the grayscales. So look at this one on the table, so here, think carefully that whether we have to present the data in the form of a text or in the form of a table. I have taken a couple of examples from one published paper. Look at the example on the left side, where the strings of results are presented have been, in a paragraph of the text. It would have much better if the researcher has presented that into a table. All the results has been depicted in the form of a text. Conversely, on the right side of the table, right side of the screen, you can see a table which is not necessary. Why? Because a brief couple of sentences would have been more than sufficient in this case. So extremely long tables or raw data should not be included in the main article unless otherwise absolutely necessary. Better would be to include them in a supplementary data if necessary, or you may post them in a data repository and link them to that of the article. So the very, very important section of a paper is discussion. Interpretation of the results is discussion. What your result exactly means. The discussion section completes the main part of the paper. The discussion is where you interpret the result, what your result mean, and really sell your data. It is arguable the most important section of your paper, and believe me, a huge number of papers are going to get rejected just because of the discussion is weak, or only include a mere discussion of the results. You should make sure the discussion corresponds to and complement to the results. You should not simply repeat the results in that way. The best discussion go further than the result of the study in question and compare other previously published work. Critically, you should not ignore work in disagreement with yours. Confront it. Convince the reader why your result is important, why your result is more correct or better than the previous. So it is not mandatory that at all the times your result must be positive. See, result is a result, whatever it is, a positive or a negative. Even if you have end up with getting a wrong result, you can describe the result why it was wrong, so that some other researcher, some other person out in another country or somewhere else, he might not try the same same methodology and end up with the wrong result, unnecessarily waste of time. So you are in one way you are saving the time by depicting your negative result also. That's what I said, that result is a result, whether it's a positive or negative, fine. You have to discuss that result more genuinely. So you should be very careful to avoid the statements that go beyond what your results support. So to avoid non-specific expressions such as high temperature, low temperature, no. Instead, give some quantitative description data. Like, for example, if the temperature is increased by some X degree centigrade, or if the the rate of burn or the rate of burn increased by Y kilocalories per minute. So in this way, depict your results, discuss your results in a quantitative manner rather than the qualitative manner, like high temperature, low pressures, high pH, that pH. No, give the exact figure so that reader will get more information from the discussion point. Don't avoid using new terms not already defined in a mention in your paper. Don't keep the new words or new expressions in this one. So at this stage, you may realize that you are not able to support your story because some critical items you have been studied substantially, and if so, will need to be performed further experiments. So language and tense are also very important. So here, the present tense has to be used for the known facts or hypothesis, and to discuss the results of your experiment, or you want to describe the result of an experiment which you have conducted, you can use past tense. This is as simple as this. Which is already known hypothesis, then you are going to use present. And if you are going to conduct your experiment for the first time, or if you want to describe the result of your experiment, then use the past tense. Finish. This is as simple as this phenomenon. Well, the last part is conclusion. Now to the final section. In the conclusion, you should clearly explain how your work advances the field of the study. You should take care not to simply repeat the experimental results. No, again, you should rather indicate use, extension, or application of your work, but do not overreach. Hence, the statement such as this method potentially can be used, no, do not belong to the conclusion. So you can suggest the future experiments that can build your work and point out any relevant experiments that may already be underway. The conclusion should be distinct from the abstract, as they serve a different purpose. Although some message may be included, but still your conclusion should be towards a bottle tip. Should get a one particular point. The reader should get convinced that yes, this is the point what a researcher want to convey me. The conclusion should be clear to help the reviewer and editor to judge your work and its impact. Am I right? So look at this one conclusion, and in summary, we have demonstrated that so and so. They have given a brief summary in 1 or 2 points. Based on these findings, we assume that these compounds could sufficiently be absorbed by the intestinal tract. So this is the sum conclusion. However, further studies are needed in the future. So the construction of the conclusion, look at this construction of the conclusion. They have given the summary of the entire paper in a couple of lines. Then they have given a gunshot, pin-to-pin point of what exactly they are going to conclude. And finally, they have also suggested, yes, however, further studies are needed. So some researcher may take up this task, may take up where this paper ends, and he can start from over there. He can take up the need to order to determine the pharmacokinetic disposition of these compounds. So from this point, this last future point may be the starting point of some other people's research. So that ends the paper, and finally we have to acknowledge here. Acknowledge section is where you can acknowledge the names of the important people or entities who have helped you, but who do not fulfill the criteria for authorship, which we will cover in the coming slides in author ethics section. So you can thank the advisors, financial supporters, proofreaders, typists, or your lab assistants, or your friends, or your someone like this. But do remember that you should not give the acknowledgements for the already there in the authors list. If you're having 2 or 4 authors, and if you are going to thank for one of the authors, then no, it is not advisable. So do take care that acknowledgement should not have the authors' names. So in this way, you can find out the acknowledgements here. The authors would like to thank so-and-so pharmaceutical company for providing the drug. And I wish all the people who have helped during the process, so for their sincere support and so on, like this. And you can also include a funding statement from where you have get the grant. So that is also one part of acknowledgement. So you are thanking so-and-so agency, so-and-so body for granting the financial support for your research work. Yes, this is the damn critical step of entire manuscript. References. The reference list is where you cite the main scientific publication of your work is based on. So do not include too many references, especially if they are only tangential related to your work. Always ensure that you have fully absorbed and understood the material you are referring with. Do not just rely on the reading just the abstract and and making that paper as a reference in your in your paper. Avoid excessive self-citation. So one way or other, this is also going to make us paper to end up with a rejection. So it's advisable. It is okay to self-cite your paper, 1 or 2 couple of papers in your in your research article, but still don't use more than 1 or 2 papers in your reference section of your own. And more importantly, check the guides of the author to ensure the proper format of the references. Each and every journal will have their own set of style of writing the references. As such, we have some 3 to 4 types of reference styles, like like this one's like Modern Language Association MLA style, American Psychological Association APA style, the Chicago style, Harvard style, and Vancouver style. So these are the 5 or 6 different types of styles of writing. More commonly, the journals they used to have the Vancouver style. Some will have the Chicago style, Harvard style also. These 3 are more commonly acceptable, but still you have to refer back the references or the guidelines for the author, so that you will get a clear idea how to arrange, in what way you have to arrange the references. Well, these 3, my personal experience here, ref work, and most of the times I use Mendeley, and EndNote is also one of the very good softwares packages which will help you to design the references. Really hectic problem is references. Arrangement, the designing of the reference, how to arrange comma, full stop, semicolon, all this nonsense will be sorted out by using this type of very good softwares. Easy to use softwares also, Mendeley and EndNote, ref work. So I personally used Mendeley and EndNote. These are very absolutely good. Well, yes, that's about the writing the paper. And now, how will you start writing the paper? I sincerely suggest to write from backwards. You start from collecting the data and figures first. You start collecting the data and figures, tables, then go for writing the methods, results, discussion, finally show up the conclusion, and then introduction, which is relevant to your work, and then include everything in the abstract and keywords, and then design the title. This is more scientific way. The more efficient way is to regard the manuscript as a, like a building a brick by brick to construct a wall. I will suggest in this way. Start your proceeding with the table and figures, then describe the methods, results, discussion, finally the conclusion, and then introduce your topic, and finally write up the brief title, a very good attractive title, abstract, and keywords. Like this, it is easy to build the paper. So what happens? I'm not now. I want to say a few words on the final step before submitting your paper. The best advice I can give it to check your paper over and over again to ensure it to be vetted as thoroughly as possible before you submit. Of course, it is needless to say that all authors should check and approve the manuscript, but you might also ask your colleague, supervisor, or review your manuscript, because the way how we look is different the way how our subordinate will look. They will find out our mistakes. We don't find out our mistakes, isn't it? So if you don't do this before submission, you will have to do during revision. So it's better to do it upfront and send the editor and reviewer for the best possible first impression. So the first, before we submit a manuscript, we need a covering letter. The first step before submission is preparing the covering letter, which should be submitted along with the manuscript. This is also your chance to speak with the editor directly to mention what makes your manuscript suitable for the journal, how it is important in your field, to confirm that all authors have approved the paper, and to mention any special requirements such as to allot a specific reviewer or specific not to allot a specific reviewer, or to disclose any conflict of interest, etc., etc. So you may suggest the editor a few reviewers. So you can easily find the potential reviewers and their contacts details from the articles of your subject area. If you go back to references, all the articles which you have cited, so they are all the potential reviewers. So you can suggest 3 to 6 reviewers for the editor, so which makes his work easy to flow. So what actually happens? First, you are going to submit a paper. After submitting the basic requirements, if they are going to meet, the editor may assign this paper to reviewer, and if it not fit, then directly he can reject. If the paper is not fit into their model, fit into their scope, then there are more chances to directly reject the paper. And if it fits and everything is fine as per the guidelines of author, he may ask the reviewers to review. Once the reviewer gives the comment, again that will be sent back to the author so as to revise for one more time. Again, if there are, if you have met with all the reviewers' comments, then there are chances again they may reject or they may accept the paper. Now this is how it looks like. You are here, and your editorial team, reviewers, everybody are here to stab or to beat or to snatch you. We have to cross all these people so as to the paper will get accepted. This is like a war, a short war happening between you and the editorial team. So carefully study the comments and prepare a detailed letter of responses, because how the way you respond to the reviewers is also very, very important. I will show you the next slide here. Look at this one. One of the reviewers, they have given the method reviewer comment. Study this comment. It is very funny. The method or device or paradigm the author proposes is clearly wrong. How not to respond? Imagine if you have written like this: yes, we know. We thought we could still get a paper out of it. Sorry. No, we are not supposed to give a comment like this. So the more positive way, the reviewer arises an interesting concern. However, as the focus of this work is explanatory and not performance based, so validation is not found to be critically accepted, critical importance to be the contribution of the paper. Like this. So look at read out this one. This paper is poorly written and scientifically unsound. I do not recommend it for the publication. So you, so that something. So you reviewer, I know who are you. I'm gonna get you where when it's my turn to review. So no, you are not supposed to respond like this. So you have to respond in a very polite manner, because the reviewer comments are not in an offensive way. Don't take it in an offensive way. Take it in a professional manner. They are helping your manuscript to get in a when you have fine structure. So in this way, you should not respond your reviewers with the harsh words or in a negative manner. So because you will be end up by blocking your candidature in the particular journal. So be very careful. Okay. Now we'll spend a couple of slides on the ethical issues in publication, and then I will give some important tips and tricks, and then I will stop my presentation. So just bear me for 15 more minutes. I will end up my presentation. So ethical issues here with arising in the publication. So scientific misconduct, fabrication of the results, manipulation of the results, publication misconduct, plagiarism, different formats of plagiarisms, duplication of submission, simultaneous submission, lack of acknowledgements of the prior research or researcher, inappropriate identification of co-authors. All these are concerned with the ethical issues. But however, I'm going to discuss two most important ethical issues, that is ethical authorship definitions and plagiarism. So here, what is an authorship definition? The list of authors can be unexpectedly tricky situation. Here are some general principles that can be considered to determine first author, who is co-author, etc. First author are the one who really worked on that project. or supervise the data analysis as well as the interpretation or presentation of the results. The fellow who has really conducted the experiment is the first author. And the corresponding author put the paper together, submit to the journal, and the corresponding author may be the first author sometimes, and it might not be sometimes. Co-authors make an intellectual contribution to the data analysis interpretation. Anyone listed as the author should be review the draft, and the paper must be ready to able to present, defend, discuss. Okay, and so anyone who has done the work is first author. Who have communicated, who are having who have done some additional work for the project or research, they are called co-authors. And the contribution or corresponding author is one who is going to correspond, who is going to submit your paper to the journal. And the most importantly, abuse to be avoided here. Ghost author. Sometimes knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally, we leave out authors who should be included, who has really worked in our project, who used to leave that fellow. And we sometimes include when they do not even contribute anything for the paper, just merely for as your friend or as your colleague or as your subordinate or your senior, you may put his name without even having a brief idea about our paper. You will put his name. That's called as a gift authors. So both are not advisable. You should not leave any author who has really done some work in this project, and you should not include any new person who haven't done anything in this project. And next one is plagiarism. Needless to say that this is going to be a very, very serious consequence, a shortcut and long-term consequences you are going to face. Plagiarism is considered as a serious offense by the institute, by the journal editor, and by the scientific community itself. So plagiarism may result in academic charges, but not certainly cause rejection of your paper. But still, you will be given one more chance to reduce the plagiarism, but plagiarism will hurt your reputation in the scientific community. So be very, very, very specific and careful in this step. Multiple submissions is also unethical. So multiple submissions, we may think that multiple submissions will reduce our time for the publication. So I'm communicating the same paper for the more than one journal. So no, it is also not recommended. Do not send your manuscript until otherwise you get some decision from the first journal. If your first journal has been rejected based on so and so points, then you refrain the publication, refrain the manuscript, and then you can communicate with the second journal, because editors has a network to track your manuscript. So somehow or other, they are going to track your multiple submissions. Once if you are capped with the multiple submissions, you are going to end up by blocking in a particular publication house or blocking in a particular journal to communicate the papers in the future. So be very careful in this section. Well, my practical advice is how to start writing the paper. See, first thing, as I said, that you must have a lot of patience to write the paper. You should sit with your system. You should sit with your pen and paper. Then you have to work out what to be written. Find out what are all the hot topics in your current field. What is the recent updates in the current field. Don't go for the old one. Don't go for the traditional, or don't go for the back 5 years old or 10 years old topics. It's a waste of time. Find out what is new, what is the trending in the subject area. You can search in the journals, authors, and Scopus, Web of Science. So many journals are there. You can search for the current trends and hot topics in the particular area. Now, after that, choose the correct and right journal. Don't go for broad journals, like International Journal of Engineering. So you can publish anything in that one. No, it's a waste of time. Instead, you can go with the Journal of Construction Material. So where you can specifically publish your paper only related to the civil engineering, and that too with the construction material. So you can go like this. Broaden. Don't go for the broad journals. Narrow the field so that your paper, your reviewers, everybody will give a very fruitful comments on your paper. So you can also evaluate the paper journal by its impact factor. Again, that's a different story. What is impact factor? This is an impact of the journal created on a scientific community. That's called impact factor. We have a formula to calculate that one. I'm not going to discuss all these things now. So find out the impact factor, SCM, Schimoga journal impact factor, journal analyzer, H-index values, all these things for your paper, for your journal. Then you can find out what is the correct journal. And I have already discussed the tools to journal filed journal finder to uploading the title, uploading the abstract, you can find out the journal finder also. So the algorithm will itself will give what type of journal you can able to communicate with. So find out more about the journals also, who are the editors, guidelines of the editor, guidelines for the authors, article for the future. And most of the journals are paid journals. You have to be financially fit so as to contribute for the publication also. Some journals are free of cost. So you have to analyze depending upon your circumstances. Well, the points to be remembered here is the take-home message from my presentation is the preparation is important, but do not spend too much time on your preparation. Submit to the right journal and read the scope, whether your paper fit into this model or not. Read the scope and then decide. Don't go for some hunky-funky journals and low-graded journals. Aim your manuscript, even if you know that the paper may get rejected, but still go for the higher journals, because you are going to get some very good review points so that you can modify your paper. You can reconstruct your paper depending upon those review points which has been given to you, because the editors, the reviewers are the very great scientists, academicians, authors in the particular field. So you will get a very good review on your paper so that you can reframe once again so that you can go for the publication in another. So submit to one journal only. Don't submit simultaneously to other journals, more than one journals. Use clear, correct manuscript language. Check the English. Pay attention to the structure. Pay attention to journal requirements. And use easy to understand charts, professional illustrations, and be very, very, very honest and genuine. So that's about the take-home message and the important tricks and tips which I was promised to give you. So these are all my references which I have used. Few more references were there, but I'm unable to put all this in one slide. So that's the thing for the presentation. Any questions or queries?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
I want to ask you one question. It is you said about some reference software, that is reference note, Mendeley and EndNote.
Yes.
Whether
yes.
it's free of cost or we want to pay it.
Yes, sir. There are actually paid versions only, but you will get a like 7 days trial, 15 days trial are also available. But unfortunately, they are paid versions only, sir. Even if you download for a matter of 7 days or 15 days, also most of the options were deactivated. Some options are still there, but you can start using once if you find advantage for yourself for your paper, then go for purchase. But obviously, yes, it is a paid version only. It is not free.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please. Good afternoon, sir.
Actually, can you suggest the best journal to publish? It is somewhat easily. I mean, in short time, not other than IEEE.
Sir,
From your experience.
Sir, if you want to have a healthy food and without any junk food, it is impossible. So junk food always end up with the dangerous results. So healthy food always needs some time. So sir, best what I can suggest you here is you can search in one of the journal finder, Web of Science journal finder. You can get a very good range of journals. This website I will prefer. Clarivate journal finder. You can find what type of journal you can communicate with. So in that journal only you are going to get what is the. Sorry.
No, actually, in between it disconnected.
Yeah, sorry.
My network problem. I didn't hear.
Fine. Sir, I prefer this Web of Science Clarivate website because this website gives an information regarding the type of the journal you have to publish. You can able to communicate with, and frequency of time, how fastly the paper is going to get accepted, whether the journal is and what is the percentage of acceptance in the previous year, how many papers has been accepted will also be there in this website. Very, very helpful website. Just visit this one, Clarivate website. Then you will get to understand what type of journals you can communicate with. Hope I have given the answer for your question, sir.
Hi, doctor. Thank you very
Hello.
much for your presentation. It's very informative and interesting. Just with
Thank you, Dr.
regards,
Joe.
this is not really a question, but rather than my own personal experience.
Yes.
So with the referencing tool, Mendeley is a free software.
Mendeley is a free software, in fact, yes. But this EndNote and RefWork, these two are paid versions, madam. Yes, Mendeley is a free software, in fact, yes.
Yeah, EndNote, you have to, yes, you have to pay for it. I am not sure about RefWorks.
Yes, this is
Actually,
also
this is a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Mendeley is a free software.
Yes, Mendeley is a free
easy
software.
to use.
Easy to use also, yes.
Yes,
Thank you for
yes.
adding
So,
a couple of points. Thank you so much, Dr. Johar.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Anything more? Any questions?
Maybe nothing, Doctor, but we thank you actually for this session. It's really great, informative. And
Thank
we
you.
thank also HR department. Thanks all of you to attend this session. Just we want to tell you something important, that this lecturer has been recorded, and the record itself and the presentation will be able to find it in the training page. Okay, if you go through the training page, maybe after a few days they will enter all presentations inside it. They will upload it. And another thing also, you're going to receive an email regarding to the feedback. So please fill that feedback. After that, immediately the certificate will be downloaded in your PC. Okay? So don't forget please to fill the feedback.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I thank the HR of training UTAS, and I thank our HOD, Dr. Moona, for her encouragement, and Ms. Abir for her constant follow-up and support. And I also thank other faculty members of Department of Pharmacy. And I personally thank each and every participant who have patiently listened for almost more than an hour. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. See you in next session, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.